In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the power steering pressure hose on your Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's located on the front side of your power steering pump. On the passenger side front section of the engine, you have your belt tensioner right here on the far left. We use our 15mm socket on our ratchet here. And what we're going to do is want to lift up on our tensioner and release or remove the belt. So pull up on it and pull the belt off and go ahead and relax that tensioner. And what we're going to do is come on over to the other side of the engine on the driver's side to the power steering pulley, and we're just going to slide the belt off of that and just tuck that behind the pulley itself. Go over to your power steering reservoir right here, locate the cap, turn it to the left, remove it. Now there is going to be power steering fluid on there, hopefully. Wipe that off, set that aside. Now we're going to use an evacuation tool here to remove the fluid from that and put it into an external container. This way here, when we remove the hose, we won't have to worry about fluid running out all over the place. We will have residual fluid coming out, but it shouldn't be anything crazy and it shouldn't be running out constantly. Once you have all of your fluid removed, we can then continue. Go ahead and install your cap. On the front side of your power steering reservoir and behind the power steering pulley, you're going to find this hose right here, and that's a 21mm. I want to go ahead, loosen this, turn that counterclockwise. I want to loosen this and we're going to remove it. It is kind of a tight fit, and just continue to loosen this until it comes out of the pump itself. All right, now we have that loose. You'll be able to slide that up. I want to go ahead and pull this up and out. Now we do have a catch can underneath. Any residual fluid that might be in that hose is just going to drain into that bucket underneath. Now if we follow the power steering line over towards the passenger side, you're going to find it sitting inside this little retainer clip here. I'm just going to use a pocket screwdriver, pop that open, pull that line out. I'm going to take your new power steering line here, and you have an O-ring that comes with the kit. We're going to fit this on here. Just kind of roll that on and push that down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to feed this down alongside of the old line. And set it up on top here. Now we're going to raise the vehicle and access the bottom portion of this hose from underneath. On the bottom side of our vehicle, we're going to locate our power steering pump cooler here. And there are two lines where the one we're going to be replacing is the one on the right hand side. So we're going to use our 20mm open-ended wrench. Now this line here is our new one, so we'll just tuck that off. And let's loosen that here. Now be prepared, fluid is probably going to come out of this as well. So make sure you're wearing safety glasses, you're out of the way, and you have a catch can or a bucket underneath to catch this fluid. And here comes that fluid. Now if you want, you can wait for that fluid to continue to drain out until it's pretty much empty. We'll let this continue to drain for a moment, and then we'll follow up by wiping things down, and we'll remove the old line. Now when we go to remove our hard line here from the bottom of our cooler, it's actually hitting our sway bar here. So what we want to do is this clip, retainer clip for the 2 power steering lines, we want to try and remove that so we have a little bit of movement of the lines inboard so we can remove this line. Use your trim tool and want to try and get in behind the clip and pop this out of the cooling fan assembly. And we have a retainer out, so set that aside. We're going to grab the line and we're going to twist it back a little bit to get out of our cooler and pull that out. Now what we're going to do is simply switch this around. I'm going to take our new line that we already fed down here, and we're going to do the same thing. Twist it up a little bit and feed this into the pump. Push it up inside, and we want to start this by hand, making sure that it goes into the cooler straight. Once you get this started, we're going to thread it in several threads and make sure that it is lined up perfect, and then we'll move up top and install the upper portion. Now that we have this threaded on a few threads, we can go ahead and pull down our old line. Go ahead and dispose of that. Now we're not going to snug this down yet. Let's move up top and connect the other end. And take the new line, and we need to install the O-ring on the end here. So go ahead and slide that over. Now I'm just going to reach down with my fingertip. I got a glove on here. I'm going to grab a little bit of power steering fluid that was on or in the reservoir still, and just put a little bit on that O-ring. It's always good to replace the O-ring when doing this here. Going to fold this underneath. Line that up. And let's go ahead and get that nut started. And sometimes you can reach down with both hands there, or one hand. Just want to try and get that started, a couple threads. Wiggle that hose back and forth. It'll almost line itself up, and you'll feel that starting to catch into the pump. You can use a pair of long pliers here. I'm using a pair of hose pliers. It actually grabs a hold of the top of this here pretty good. And get that thread in and a few extra threads. Now what I'm doing here, in order to get this threaded in, I'm using my left hand going underneath, and I can reach in with 2 fingers here. With my right hand, I'm going to grab the hose and gently wiggle this back and forth, and that's how I was able to get this threaded in. You have to be super careful not to cross thread it. Make sure you get it in, threaded, and once that bites in, you'll feel it. Now at that point we can grab our wrench and we can go ahead and start to thread that in. Now at this point here we can go ahead and snug that in. You'll feel it bottoming out. Just give that hose a little wiggle. It is pretty firm. It's locked into place. Let's go ahead and tighten this down. You want to make sure that's snug but not super tight, because you're only threading into aluminum and you don't want to strip the aluminum out of the pump or the cooling unit itself. Let's go ahead and install our clip here. This is our little retainer. I'm just going to pull our unit out here and pop this back into the cooling fan. Going to press our clip on. Once you have your clip locked into place here, let's go up top and install our belt. On the top side here, install our clip for the power steering line. So just kind of push that line into it and fold our retaining clip over, lock it into place. We're going to jump right into putting our belt on. So go ahead and route the belt around the pulleys that it needs to go to. Now I'm holding tension on the belt right now, so I can go ahead and pull it up over the AC compressor. Going to put my ratchet back on this. I'm going to push this over and pull up on that belt. Go ahead and get your belt installed and then release that tensioner. Now once you have that released, you want to go ahead and inspect all of the pulleys that the belt is running on. Make sure that it's fully seated all the way around. It's on the water pump properly. It's in all of the ribs. If everything is lined up perfect, you're all set with that. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our cap. Now this is an actual dipstick. You now actually have measurements on it. It has an add line way down at the very bottom. The next line up is C for cold, and then up here is the H for hot. Now we're going to be filling this up and it's going to be a cold temperature, so ideally we want to go ahead and just fill it up until the fluid meets that mark there. And this is going to take a few minutes because you're going to do intervals of filling this without overfilling. Take a clean funnel and go ahead and fill using the appropriate power steering fluid for the vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and check that fluid level. And look at that, we are way high. So we were high on the dipstick. But what we're going to do is you want to go ahead and fire up the vehicle. You want to go ahead and just let it run for just a few seconds. You want to get that power steering fluid to cycle through those lines and fill everything up as they should be. And then we'll go ahead and double check that level. At this point here, we just ran the vehicle. We are right on. There's our fluid right at the cold mark. Now for some reason, if you did overfill, just use that vacuum component that you had used before to go ahead and pull that fluid out until you get to the appropriate level. Now if you happen to take the vehicle for a road test and you do get it warmed up, you want to make sure that that fluid is at that high point or high level on that dipstick. That'll be fine as well. You want to go ahead and adjust that fluid appropriately to make sure that you are at the correct level on that for the proper operation of that steering system.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.